Well, hello and welcome back to another episode with the Learn Crew. We're so excited today. We have the sensational Irina, our manifestation coach, the amazing Bruno Gill, our self-love coach. I'm here, Kara Jean, as your executive coach, and we have the amazing Toby Staples today as one of our guest speakers. We're so excited. You have seen Toby in our comment section dropping all of that gold, so we just brought it up onto stage today.
Go Toby! Woohoo!
Time to shine,
It's great to have you.
Well, I'm very grateful to be here with all of you guys. This is going to be an amazing episode. I'm excited.
And it is. Today we're talking with fear. So we talk about fear a lot, and that just comes up as a human being in life. Things get new and fears come from that space. But what if instead of talking about fear, you talked to fear? What would that change? So I'm going to go to Irina first. What immediately comes to your mind?
You know what? This is exactly what I'm practicing and teaching my clients. I say it's okay to have the fear, but we are not going to allow that fear to have us. And I even have this, like tool saying, okay, make an appointment with that fear. Just say, you know what? I get you. I recognize you, but not today. Let's schedule an appointment, at the end of the week. And guess what? By the time you have that appointment with the fear, that fear already is gone because you are focused on something better in your life.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It's like, let's put a pin in it, fear. I hear you. And we'll talk about that on Friday at 2. And then Friday at 2, you're like, fear, where are you, fear?
Huh? I'm ready.
So good. Yes. Toby, what's this bring up for you?
Well, we all face fears on a daily basis, but it's how we look at them. Because I take everything as a lesson for learning. So there's nothing to fear with learning ever. So that's why I govern myself from a place of, I like to say I have zero fear. Yes, things may arise, but I look at it as, okay, I'm missing something here. I got to find it because it's not a threat. It's a lesson presenting itself. So I just got to dig a little deeper. That's what I do all the time.
Yes, what I heard there is that if you lean into lifelong learning, fear becomes yet another lesson and not a roadblock.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. All right, Bruno, you got to follow all that up. What you got?
No problem. I say that we need to take care of that fear now, not in a week. That's my opinion, Irina, obviously, and obviously Toby. But we need to take care of it now because we don't know what's going to happen in a second, in a minute, in an hour. We have no idea. Now is the time, not in the future, not in the past. This is the present. Right now, we're living in here. The future doesn't exist. The past already existed. What exists now is the present. Now. Take care of it now. Do it now. Right? Take that out of the way. Right? And just attack it with everything we have because we have nothing to lose, right? We're not getting any younger. Every single day of our life, we're actually closer to death, right? So, what's the point of living with it now? Let's just take care of it now, right? Let's find a way to take care of it now, right? Simple.
Oh, I love that. So as a reverse to putting it on the calendar and dealing with it at the end of the weeks, you just look straight in its face and go, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Go away, just leave it. You're not getting anything from me now. You're messing with the wrong person, man. That's the point, right? It's just right, that's it. Look it dead in the eyes and smile, right?
Yeah. What do you want? What are you here for? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's go there, can we? Yeah. So when it is really easy to say, okay, we'll have a conversation with your fear. Just talk to it, right?
Yeah.
I've had so many conversations with my fear, but it was not that's easy. It's simple, right? But not easy. It was not that easy when I first started, like literally just calming my hormone soup down enough to say, what do you need in that space was a challenge. What have you guys as tools or validation of the struggle to share on that? We'll go reverse. Bruno, I'm going right back to you.
All right. it's like you said as well, right? It's like it's talking to it, it's facing it, right? But it's just really not letting it control us. Plus, it's not letting it like because the moment like it's almost like it's like in business, right? The moment somebody smells desperation out of you, they're gonna abuse you, right? Because they're gonna try to get leverage over that fear, right? And that's what fear does to us. Fear leverages over our, over our insecurities, right? So there's really no other way but to like just attack it, right? Simple. The best way to kill a fear is to, let's face it, is doing it, right? It's not talking about it, more talking to it, right? But not talking about it, not opening it to fade away, because it will not fade away. It will just grow more and more and more and more on somebody, right? Because and I feel like we all have been through this, right? The stress only comes from not taking action, right? Like stress comes from not taking the action, right? Because when we are taking the action, we don't have time to be stressed about what can happen because we are in the middle of the action, right? So, right, it's like you do it, there's a 50-50. You don't do it, there's 100% chance that fear will not go away, right? So it's live or die, right? And rather might as well either die trying or win, and and be completely like super proud of ourselves, right? I mean, Jesus, I mean, what the shit, man? Like, like just be proud of ourselves, right? I mean, right? I mean, for example, I had a call tonight, right? I had two calls, like two meetings, right? One worked, the other one didn't work. And I wasn't like, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Like I had a bit fear that it wouldn't work, right? Because I like to do in 10 calls, I like to do 10 out of 10. I like to do it perfect, right? But that's fine, and who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't like to have it all, right? But if you don't get it, it's not just, oh, fuck, I'm this, I'm that. Or no, you're not going to fucking do that. No, you're going to be like, I got that, the other one, right? And, I'm, let's celebrate that. Let's not like drowning in fear. Oh, what about the next one? No, fuck that. You don't even know about the next one. Jesus, right? So like, like really appreciating like what we have and not letting like fear consume, right, is like super important. That works for me. And yeah, I believe it works like for Solar Rapid.
I love the tool in there. I don't know that you said these exact words, so I'm going to put my words to it. Tell me if I got this.
Right.
But in living in action, in living in the moment and addressing fear right now, one of the very first steps is really just that awareness, becoming aware that fear came up in that moment, because then once you're aware, you can impact.
Yeah. Perfect. You even said it better than me.
Well, I got to recap. That's the easy part. Yes. Toby, how about for you? What are some of the struggles you've had and what are some of the tools you've used?
Well, I've been very extremely scared for my life at many times, having to face death as many times as I did. And even up until 2 years ago, the heart attack and the flesh-eating disease in my face, of course I was fearful. But how I like to look at any fear that's coming up is I'm either going to validate it or I am going to deconstruct it and wonder, why is this triggering this in me? Because it can either work for you or against you, but you got to understand primarily why it's stamped in your program for you to be like that anyway. And that's my biggest thing. I deconstruct everything down to its simplest form. So if I'm fearful of anything, well, I want to know why. I want to know why. And my soul is what's going to tell me why, not another person. So I deconstruct the environment. Is there anything that I should be fearful of, really? Like, let the logical mind here work for me. Analyze my environment and the energies of it. Okay, that's clear. So what's next? Obviously, it's something internally being triggered in me. All right, well then, that's obviously something I need to identify, accept, and alter and recorrect, because knowing factually what I can make possible, having beat death 7 times, I don't own any right to be fearful of anything once I realize the power that's flooding me. So it's the pause to do the analytical work for your own well-being is a must. So me, I don't validate fear. I deconstruct it to find why it's even initially triggered. Because I don't want to be fearful of anything. It's your adventure of life. You shouldn't be fearful of anything.
I love that. And I love the recognition that fear itself is not necessarily rational, but we are. And if you look it direct in the face, you can figure out, where is it coming from? Why is it triggering? What is the root of this? And then you can just haul it out from the root ball.
Exactly. Because unless you haul it from the root, it doesn't matter what you do after that. It is always going to resurface, and that'll grow right back through concrete if we think about it. So it must,
that makes me think of blackberry bushes. Yep.
It has to be uprooted from the root in order to remove that trigger or that fear or that, no matter what it is that it's triggering in you. Because if our truest natural state is to be in harmony and balance and thriving and evolution and creativity, where's there fear in that? Our soul knows no fear. It's only our programming that does.
Yeah. All right, Arena, what you got for us? What is your experience and what are your tools?
You know what? For me, it comes the phrase, once we become fearless, the life become limitless. And that's so true, right? And what comes for me is, only if there is like a life-threatening condition, everything else shouldn't be a fear, right? And even Toby, she dealt with the life-threatening conditions, and I truly, admire you for, like stepping out of that fear and exactly, manifesting what you truly want in your health, right? So we're just talking about manifestation is real and it works. And a lot of times fear is just all our thinking. When we are entertaining these thoughts, and a lot of times it's like, what can be fearful to step out of our comfort zone? What can be fearful to change our careers? What can be fearful to change our relationship? It's not life-threatening. All it is just like, to step into uncertainty and trust that you're going to be fine. And that's exactly what it is, because a lot of times we just start feeding ourselves with these negative thoughts. And my mantra every day is, everything is happening for my highest good. And that's exactly how I deal with fear. And that's exactly how I keep myself in the state of, relax and receiving mode, rather than, fight and flight. Because I know when I'm in a fight and flight, there is nothing good in it. I'm just going to attract more negative outcomes for myself, but I don't want it. So rather than doing that, I'm just relaxed. I say, I trust the process. I just step out of my comfort zone. I make that, like step forward, and I just deal with that, what's coming. Like I said, there is no fear unless it's life-threatening. Everything else is manageable, and everything else we are inflating in our heads. So we are better, like really check in our thinking.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So I thank you for our manifestation course. Of course, she brings up that you're going to manifest regardless, but which wolf are you feeding inside you today? Right?
Totally.
Exactly, because validation amplifies it, because you're putting your focus and your life force into supporting that. And people don't realize, but literally the minute you validate it and put your focus on it and actually say, oh, I'm scared. Oh, you have just submitted to it.
Yeah. But you know something, like I feel like fear is I think fear is an extreme motivator. It's like, I mean, maybe you'll think I'm crazy for saying this or not, but like, I don't want to go to a psychologist and be like, oh, Mr. Psychologist, I'm so afraid. I'm like, no, goddamn, no, that's my demons. I want to deal with them myself. Plus, fear is an extreme motivator. If my girlfriend broke up with me, like, if I had a girlfriend and she broke up with me, like today, at 6 a.m. tomorrow, I'm in the gym. like, like, fear is an extreme motivator, right? It's just like, I don't want nobody to take that away from you. Like, the more afraid I am, the more I'm going to push it to myself, because the worst thing we can do to fear is tolerate it. right?
Oh,
And when I'm
yeah.
intolerated, right? Toleration, right? It's like, oh, it's fun, oh, I tolerate my fear. No, bullshit. No, don't tolerate your fear. Destroy it, kill it,
And I love
obliterate
that.
it, right?
Turn it into motivation. Flip the script. If you know
Exactly.
what you don't want, like you don't want to be single, you don't want to be sick, you don't want. You can think about all the don'ts you want all day long, which means that's what you're manifesting. Or you can flip the script. And if I don't want this, then I do want this. And then you get to think about that. And it's not even that you have to dismiss the fear. You can just use it as a tool to motivate you towards what you actually do want. Ooh, I like that.
Can I just quickly add something?
Yeah.
Because, when we look at this from the prism of the most strongest emotions are fear and love. So we either stay in fear and create everything from that energy and obviously attract more fear into our life, or we just shift our focus to love. And what would I love to have in my life, right? So if we are afraid to change our career because, like we are tired and we don't want to see our boss anymore, right? And we don't want to be stuck where we are. So let's think, what would I love to have in my career, right? So connect with that energy of love rather than fear. And it's going to be something that's going to drive you to actually step out of your current condition and just, embrace the changes.
Ooh, I'm going to throw some, so we're getting some comments and I want to share this because I think that it's not framed as a question, but I'm going to frame it as a question. And I want to ask each of you. So the comment is, I'm trying to recreate fear and love emotions without having to have the real threat so I can feel it, but almost as an outside observer to it, which is sort of what we're talking about, how to have a conversation with it. Toby, I see it. Your mind's already going. What do you think? What do you think? Share.
There is nobody that wants to create fear intentionally within their being and throw their body out of whack intentionally. That is going in complete opposition to your subconscious brain and the total functioning of your being. If you are meant to feel fear, you will feel it. Then you identify it and face it. Do not recreate it in you.
Ooh, say more.
No, but factually, anything that you intentionally infuse into your body is worse than you just feeling it, because the intention and the life force behind it, you may not be prepared for what it causes biologically within you, which what happens? Throws you into a whirlwind of being out of control, self-doubt, because then you become unsure of yourself, unsure of what's going on. And then it just magnifies into a destabilization of your wellness within. So really, honestly, I don't know who sent that comment, but please don't you induce intentionally fear into you, because it's a total contradiction to your whole governance of your being.
Oh, so what I'm hearing here is the very real reality that choosing to relive a trauma is choosing to relive trauma.
Yes.
When you could choose to not have to do that anymore. You can choose to just go find those happy feels and follow that path and create those pathways in your brain. And I would even say that we are groomed as humans to pick apart what went wrong. So we tend to want to relive those unfortunate things so we can pick it apart and digest it and figure out where we really are the failure. And what if you didn't have to?
Actually, you do. You have to pick apart. Look, I'll give it to you like this. Okay, look, our soul needs a spot to live, right? Visualize your body as your house. If you have a foundation that is cracked and not solid, well, the whole house is in jeopardy, right? And everything goes sour from there. So in order to get to the fundamental problem, you can't go and demolish a foundation of a house without ripping down the house. The inner work, that's what it's about, is going and ripping down the house to get to the fundamental core aspect of What ripped you away from your truest essence primarily? And that is the truest correction that you could ever make for your being. But the inner work, yes, you do. Every time you're doing inner work and you relive these things for corrections, you are thrusting yourself into the same state, because our body only processes now. So if you process a memory,
Hello, everybody.
you're feeling it now as if you were just living it. So this is why you can't do inner work on your own or try to dive deep into emotions if you are not intentionally prepared for what's going to happen on a physiological, emotional, and but a complete holistic unity of what's going to happen to your being while you're doing this work. But it's essential.
I agree with all of that, and I want to ask a question around the dichotomy there, but I'm gonna actually put it on Arena as a manifestation question. But if you have thoughts, we'll just open it up. So if we don't want to choose to relive traumas, that's not a place we want to put ourselves through. However, we absolutely want to understand those traumas. How do you dive into that space without reliving while still being able to unpack?
That's such a great question. You know what? It just brings an interesting story for me, because when I initially was searching for my purpose and passion, I got signed up for regression therapy course. And it was led by, a Russian person, it was all remote. And this was very new for me, right? So, and when I started to dig into that, and I realized it's all about trauma, about, getting into that state, because obviously a lot of people carry all these traumas from one lifetime to another lifetime. And it's something that has to be healed for them to actually start living a different life. And let me tell you, I found this is not my best space. And I'm like, no, this is not me, because my soul for this lifetime came to have the most, joyful life. I had amazing parents. I mean, I still have them. I had lots of love. I never experienced any, really bad things that I hear a lot of people did. And for me, I was like, no, 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 this is not my energy. It was so restricted to me that, in the middle of the course, I said, bye. I found that life coaching is for me, because my purpose is not to go into all these traumas. And I know that there are people who are, gifted for that, right? Because I don't want to live through all of that pain. I don't want to have that heaviness. For me, it's carrying the heavy energy. So for me, it's like, I am here to take you on a ride, and fasten your seatbelts, because it's going to be fun, and I'm just going to kick your butt, and I'm going to do everything what requires out of me for you to experience the best life. So when in the case, Toby described, there are cases when people come, right, that they need that healing. So sometimes people have to work with two professionals. One is going to be like the therapist who is doing like a deep trauma healing, right? And another one is going to be the coach, right? So sometimes people need two of these people. But if something is just on the surface level, they don't have these deep traumas to heal, it could be done, even with just a life coach or manifestation coach, where we go just, through the journaling, through the processing of the emotions. Again, when it's not that deep, right? But when it's deep, yes, we do need two different practitioners to work on that.
Can I jump into your question, Karen?
Yes.
Okay, because you would ask, how can you do this deep inner work without feeling it? Well, there's a whole chapter in one of the books that I wrote about you must feel it to heal it.
Well, so not feel, but not relive, right?
No, but there's no avoidance of that, because your brain only processes now. So when you're doing the inner work and you have to go and look at these experiences, what you're doing is you're opening the Pandora's box to every emotion that's stamped it in you, to every correlation tied to any infliction of any person, place, or thing that stamped it into you. You can't avoid it, because until you open the box and feel it all, to analyze it and accept it, by the law of the universe, you cannot change it. So you can't avoid not feeling it. This is the problem. Fear, actually, today's topic, locks people away from their healing because they don't have the courage to go and actually correct those harmful stamps in their processing centers. The true correction, I've been traumatized since I was brutally molested at 4 years old. Okay, the sexual attack on me totally ripped me away from my soul completely. Well, had I not gone and deconstructed my whole life down to that, which I had kept a secret from everybody all my life, so I had also kept it a secret from my own physical being, locked it away, didn't want to relive it. Well, in order to heal it, I had to go relive it, down to feeling every sensation in my body that occurred during that experience. It takes the courage.
Mhm.
If there's anything that may be scarier than that, there isn't. And this is the tipping point of frequency. You got to have the courage to heal what is harming you. And if you can't accept that it harmed you in the first place, you cannot correct it by law of the universe.
Yeah. Bruno, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I was. First of all, everything that you just said was all awesome. I was listening, and I
Minus
was
the
paying
trauma part.
attention.
The fact that you healed, that part's the awesome part.
Yeah, obviously, but also
Well,
the trauma,
if it
because
doesn't
that's
harm
something
me
that,
now, don't let it harm you. I do it so others can learn. It no longer harms me. I healed it so there's no emotion attached to it. That's how you know if something's still hurting you. If you can talk about it with no emotion and be heartfully sharing and expressive for others' learnings, you have healed it within yourself. That's how you know. Sorry, Bruno, keep going.
no worries. I'm listening. Very nice, very awesome, very inspiring stuff, and that's what we kind of want. And I was thinking to myself, like, there's no light without dark. It's the yin and the yang. That's how it functions, right? There's no higher self with no lower self. There's no fulfillment without. There's no extreme fulfillment without extreme pain. There's no extreme gratitude without extreme loss, right? And that's kind of how it goes. That's one. And then two, I was thinking to myself, it's like, for me, I think the biggest enemy that like we face as in our race, right, is really fear and pain, because it blocks us from understanding. And if we don't understand, we can never move on with our life, right? If we can't move on with our life because we cannot understand what we need to upgrade, then we're always going to stay stuck, and we're going to completely fail our mission in the world. And right, so it's the fear and the pain is the biggest enemy of growth, which is the biggest enemy of experience. It's literally the biggest enemy of life, because right, it blocks you from understanding, right? It's like you're not creating new neural pathways, you're not creating new experiences, right? You're not creating new like ways for your brain to evolve, upgrade. And the problem with this is that, like, because a lot of people don't end up not understanding this, their brain ends up becoming smaller, not in being more optimized, because technically the smaller a brain becomes in knowledge, that means that like, it's not because you're dumb, it's actually because the brain becomes more optimized, because it doesn't need that many things to function. It's like a computer, right? It's like technology, it's the same thing, right? In fact, our brain is more powerful than a goddamn supercomputer. So, right, but it
hallucinates our
becomes
entire
small.
reality. Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly, right. Exactly, yeah. But what I mean by this is that the smaller in knowledge our brain becomes, the more you grow up without being prepared for several ways of life, right? And this is what a lot of, not a lot of people, but this is what I sometimes a lot of times mean when I say there's so many people in the world still in a body of a grown-up, but with the mind of a child, right? because they're not moving through their life. They're not learning. They're still stuck in fear and pain, and that blocks them from understanding, right?
Yeah.
And fear and pain creates ego, and ego is a self-defense mechanism, right? Is a coping mechanism, right? That comes injustice, right? But that's the thing, injustice of what? Because there's nothing there that proves that you even deserve that justice, because you're not going, you're not attacking, you're not moving towards what you need to. You're not even giving yourself a chance, right? So like the quicker I think somebody understands that, again, there's no light without dark. You have to go through that to win, right? Like nowadays there's like, oh, like in business, in love, in whatever, find love in 30 seconds. Like passive income, right? Fucking passive income, biggest bullshit in the world. All that, right? It's like that. Fine, that's okay. That's fine. That's all right. Maybe sure, but you gotta have the skills, right? And you
takes
gotta know
time.
what you're doing. Yeah, but it's not just about taking time. It's not about. It takes time, sure, but it's not just about taking time. It's also it's about patience. And for me, that's what means taking time equals patience, right? You gotta have the patience, but you cannot wait life to come to you. You gotta go to life, right? And then life will come to you, right? Because you're taking that step, right? So, for me, it's that thing of like. People cannot wait for things to come to them because they're afraid that something will happen, right? And especially like for a lot of religious people, right? It doesn't say in the, and I mean, I don't mean no disrespect the way I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. Even for like, even in religion, right? It's like in the Bible, it doesn't say do fuck all, right? And God will help you. No, it doesn't. It says God helps those who help themselves, right? Simple. And the more you put out, the more you receive, right? In manifestation as well, in quantum mechanics is the same thing. Different things, same stuff, right? Different things, same stuff, right? So
Yeah.
It's
Most of the things in life, right? It's pretty much exactly the same in a completely different way. It's individual, not unique so much, right? And I love what we came through with that is it's really about coming to the fear or trauma and going through it. So it's not really about the living in it and experience. I mean, that is part of it, but it's so that you can go through to the other side so that you can be, what the other side of fear and pain looks like. And I love that. So in having a conversation with fear and taking accountability for it. So I am a huge proponent of always it's better with a buddy, period. Just
Yay. Love it.
Comfortable. Do it. And more buddies, more better. That's just my lifestyle.
Bring it on.
But what kind of question? So let's get some practical questions. So if we're going to take accountability for having this conversation with our fear, what do we want to ask? What do we
Why
want to
are
know?
you here?
Ooh, boom.
Why are you here right now? Anybody else?
Right?
You know what? For me, we have to get to the core of it, and to get to the core of it, we keep asking questions. Like for instance, to say, like, I'm afraid to, to try new things, right? And then you ask, what if you do? Then what? And then you keep asking, and then you're going to say, oh, you know what? I'm afraid I'm going to fall. I'm afraid that everybody is going to be, judging me or making fun of me. Okay, then what? Right? So you keep reinforcing the same question by emphasizing what exactly the next answer the person produced or even yourself. But it's always good to do it on somebody because, like I said, we cannot see the picture when we are the ones in the frame. So you always require the body to do it with, right? So the thing is that you keep like asking, and it's like layer to layer to layer until you actually get to the core. And once you get to the core, you realize there is nothing to be fearful for. Just go all the way in and experience and see where it's gonna take you.
So why are you here? Or what are you here for? And then why? And then why? And just dig, like we were talking, down to that root. Ask that question again and again and again. Yeah. Bruno, what else would you ask?
I say, when are you leaving?
Yeah.
Do I need to destroy you? Do I need to own you? Is it okay? Fine, no problem. Let's do it. Whatever.
What do you need to go away?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do I have to do? Like, do I just have to, like, the more I try to the more I try to show you that, I'm your boss and I own you, and, being here with me just raises my ego because, like is like this is a point, like, is this fear trying to make me like afraid, but I won't be. My ego just will raise because I actually feel that fear, and that's normal because I'm actually doing something good for my life. Or do I just like need to let go of it so it actually goes away? Because that's the thing. I think that like that's something that we show our brains, like the more we try to like let go, like the more we try to let go, the more we, for example, a thought, right? We have a bad thought, like, oh no, don't think that. Oh great, your mind basically saying, okay, he likes this. This is important for him. More of this, more thoughts like this, right? You're just basically saying to your brain more thoughts like this, right? But if the thought comes like, oh, it's not real, just talking to shit, whatever, and like you just start doing something else, it will not come to you again. It won't. Okay, and maybe if it does like 2 or 3 times, just ignore it until it goes away, right? Because every single thing we do, was just 1 second, though, just 1 second. After this, you can destroy.
You can feel my energy, eh? Just wanting to jump.
Yeah. After this, go atomic bomb. but it's just like the more because everything is programming, right? And the majority of the program we do is to ourselves, right? Because we speak a lot with ourselves, and we are majority of times with ourselves, right? So lots of the programs is the way we feel and the way we think and the way we say stuff, right? So everything is programming, right? So if you can successfully program yourself 3-4 times better, your life will be 3-4 times better because you'll feel better, right? And that your feelings are really like, it's a cheat code. Feeling good is a cheat code, not just on your health, but on like everything around you. Like even the people you attract is good, like, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Go on, Toby. Destroy this.
You know what? I just want to mention while we're talking about fear, the biggest shift for me ever in my life when it came to fear was I came across something that said fear is false evidence appearing real. That stuck with me from the moment I saw it. And that's why from that moment, first of all, we lack the self-awareness sometimes to realize that it's not even fear that we're feeling initially. We just buckle it onto the label as fear because we don't understand it. But as soon as you are feeling fearful and you've identified that it is fear, well, what is the false evidence that's making you feel like this? And that's where I started to deconstruct fears. Was really embedding myself with the decision to be like, hey, it's all false evidence appearing real. It's triggering responses within me. Okay, let's make the correlation for the correction. See, so that's what shifted my whole life when it came to fear.
Oh. And this process that we just picked apart is the one that I use. So it starts with what are you doing here? Like literally just looking at your fear and saying, what are you doing here? And then to Arena's point, but why? And why? Okay, cool, but why? And why is that? Okay, and why? And then to Bruno's next question, like, okay, cool. So now we understand why. What do you need to go away? And then you go, okay, how are we going to do that? Okay, how do we do that? Okay, how do we do that one? Okay, how do we do that one? Okay, that's how we're going to do it then. And I play this game, so as the leadership development, we call the 5 whys and 5 hows. Why to get you to the bottom and how to get you back out of that hole. What a great tool we just gave everybody. Totally. We did not prep this, guys. This was just how good this group is. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're the amazing flow. Yeah. The amazing flow of all the amazing energy. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys. This is like really awesome. You guys are so amazing. And you know something,
You're on
I
the-
have to say this too while we're doing it, because Irina mentioned she didn't have a traumatizing life. Well, I've had a traumatizing life since my first breath, basically. And we're on the same wavelength now. So I don't want anybody to ever think that their past will ever govern their future. It doesn't matter what you've lacked in your life, no matter what you've lived, traumatized or not. If you love yourself, you're on the same frequency as those who love themselves. But you got to do the work to get there.
Yes,
You
the
matter.
past shapes does not define. Ooh. Mm.
I
Well, we have
love
a
it.
really good question. So I'd like to do this as our last one before we wrap up for today. So the question then came up, how do you shed light on those false beliefs? So if we recognize that fear is false evidence appearing real, right? It's showing us this thing over here. It's really this thing over here. Thank you, amygdala. Love you so much for that. So how do we shine light on that? What are some of your guys' tools for highlighting that and figuring out where that false belief is?
Who's going? Go ahead, you guys.
Do it, Toby. You're already talking. Do it.
Well, I've deconstructed myself down to my core because I am one that really fundamentally believes that your fears in life are based on your first 7 years of programming. So what you are programmed to be fearful of, unless you correct it from your fundamental core, you will retain, and your life force will support that throughout the rest of your life. So it's inner work. And if there's something that arises that makes me feel shifted, I immediately analyze, because there's no reason, after I've done the inner work and self-mastery and now spiritually awakened and been through everything that I have, that I should have any fear, even gurgling within me. So I immediately stop. And I investigate that, because if I'm sensing that, there's a reason for it and there's a cause for it, because you don't have those effects without the cause of it. So the way I am now is, complete halt, stop. Why am I feeling like this? And I will not allow myself to feel that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll feel it to find out what it is. And then, hey, I don't allow you here. You don't belong here, because my soul knows nothing about this. So no, that's what I do.
Oh, I love that. And a big thank you from our audience for shining the light on that first 7 years. It's really, really true, y'all. Brain study wise, that is where a lot of our pre-programming, where we made agreements that this is how things were before we knew what we were agreeing to.
Yes.
That's a big one. Irina, how about for you?
For me, what it comes is, every situation in our life is plastic. And it all depends what kind of emotions we are going to add to that. Because I always keep reinforcing it with my clients, saying, something bad happened. Just you starting worrying about it and stressing yourself out, is it going to change the situation? Absolutely not. It's already done deal. So rather than just, dwelling on it and be constantly worrying and stressing out, just relax and allow good energy to come to you, and just focus your mind from that fear to love. Okay, what can I do that I love right now? Go take a bubble bath, go dance, do something fun. And you'll see how, by shifting your energy and focusing on something good, because remember, what we are focusing on tends to expand. And you'll be able to see that you're going to attract to yourself much better outcome that you expected, right? Because we always have to remind ourselves that we are creators. And if we continuously entertaining these negative thoughts and thinking, oh my God, this is going to happen, guess what? With that fear, with this, extreme emotions, we are bringing back to us that outcome. So rather than doing it, like I said, relax, do something that fills you up, right? And just stay in that mode and focus on something good. And you'll see how you're going to attract better outcome to yourself.
Yes. So I love that. Toby said, let's be aware. Let's do the work. Lean in. When you see something that does not resonate right, look deeper at it. And Marina says, it is okay to not feel okay, but don't stay not okay. Break that pattern, interrupt it, go bring joy into your life. Okay, Bruno, what you got?
Yeah, take action. Yeah, for me, just take action. I mean, like, just take action. Just, like, it's like, it's like no judging here. Absolutely no judging. I'm not like, it's just, it's normal to feel that fear. It's normal to be afraid. Like if you're doing like big stuff or not or whatever, it'd be a little bit out of your mind. Like you'll be a little bit out of there if you weren't being afraid. But being afraid is completely normal. Whether you're trying to do something big or not, whether you're just trying to do something you've never done before, right? Whether if it's big or not, the fear will always be there, and that's a good thing. You know what? That means you give a shit. That means you give a shit, right? Simple. So like that means you care, right? That means you care. That means it's important to you. It's important for you, right? But here's the thing, right? What if you did it for somebody else, right? Let's say that you want to get better, but you're afraid of going into the gym and stuff, but your wife really wants you to be in shape, right? It's for you, but it's also for your wife. It's also for your parents. It's also for like your future kids if you have them, or right now if you actually have them right now, right? You may be afraid, but you have a higher reason that just pushes you through that wall that you're so afraid of, right? And I especially feel that like for men as well, which is like me being a man, the majority of the things I do is not even for myself. I'm not trying to like, make a shitloads of money and be, super influential and whatever, and, going on these podcasts, and one day, being bigger than Tony Robbins, being me, period, and whatever, for me. Look, man, I don't give a shit. I could go to Mozambique and be a mercenary or some crap. I don't know. I don't care. Like if I was just by myself, that's exactly what it would be. I don't know. I mean, something. I mean, a little bit
I
extreme.
feel like that would not be what you do,
Right?
but that's cool. I get the concept. Yes.
Yeah, but you get the concept. Like just something. It's just something. It's just something, right? But
I love that.
it's right. It's like especially as a man, try to do something for somebody else, right? Like your biggest purpose is somebody else, and probably already do it. I'm not saying anything new, right? Like work really hard for somebody else, right? Work really hard for this, work really hard, like for your family, right? Have a higher purpose, right? And then create your value, right? Because here's something else, right? Here's something that like a lot of, look, if you're a man, right? If you're a man and you want to like get lucky in love or dating, you got to have stories, right? You got to be exciting, right? And you won't have any story if you don't face your fears, right? So face your fears. You have stories, right?
Yeah.
You'll have like you'll have like a lot of great great stuff to say, right? Because your life just became more interesting, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of the fear,
really, in what you're
courage,
saying,
bravery.
right? So it's not about, for those of us who maybe haven't done all of the deep work and still have that fear, it's not about not doing because you're still in fear. It's about doing with fear, which is really the base of courage. Is being afraid, doing it anyway.
Even afraid, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the minute you install the courage, it totally eliminates the fear. Totally. That's the tipping point. So instead of choosing fear, you choose the courage to get analytic about what it is that's triggering you anyway and push right past it.
Yeah. Yes. And I would add to the perspective that you'll know that this is happening when you have that second thought. So that first thought is that pre-programmed one where you're like, this is what it is, because this is what I agreed to when I was 6, right? Before I even knew I was agreeing. But then there's that second thought, that next thought that comes after that's like, maybe that's not the thing though. that means you're doing the work. That means you have been addressing that. That is your courage speaking. That is the you outside of those traumas and dramas who's like, hold on, I do see this higher picture. Wait a second. So if you have a second voice in your head, that means you're doing this work. So good job. Well done. Yeah. And I want to recap what we did and then have everybody do kind of a last thing before we head out. So we started with, how do you have this conversation, right? Let's give them a tool. So first, why are you here? Okay, why? Go 5 times. Dig deep into that. And then what do you need to go away? And then get your 5 hows to get yourself out of that. And then how do we do that? Well, first it starts by becoming aware and recognizing a lot of this came before you were 7 years old. So you know a place where to start that conversation. And then you can interrupt it as you start to get too far down a path and it starts to get too uncomfortable and you're reliving rather than processing and going through. Interrupt it. Go do something happy. Change it up. Choose that happy space so that you have the courage to go through these feelings to the other side and know that you've been doing it. Odds are, if you have a second voice in your head, you've been doing it. Toby, wrap us up. What is your last thoughts?
Guys, just stay in your heart space because there's no fear that's allotted there. Simple as that. Your heart's going to give you 2 feelings. It's going to pull you to it or it's going to push you away from it. No fear involved, no thought attached, no trauma, no pain, no suffering. Factually, this is where you're supposed to follow your heart. You can avoid all the fear by doing just that. I'm really grateful to have been here, guys, with you guys today. It's amazing. I send everybody love. Hear it and everybody listening and everybody in the world, factually.
Yep.
Marina.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that face your fear and just step out of it and recognize that the fear is always there. It's part of our emotions. We are human beings, but just recognize the fear, but not allow that fear to, be in front of you and just befriend that fear. Knowing it's there, but knowing that you are in charge.
Bruno.
Yeah. I said it so many times, but yeah. Like don't overthink about it, right? Take action with it, right? Because obviously it's the stress, it's the anxiety, it's the adrenaline, that creates fear, right? And it gets so big, we become paralyzed with. We don't want that, right? Always remember what you're made of, right? If you weren't supposed to be alive now, you wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't even be listening to this right now. You should be somewhere else, right? So yeah, like keep doing you, keep being you. You'll whatever you're going through right now, you'll get there, right? And that's it, man. Just be awesome. Right?
Yes.
Face that shit.
You're doing it, and you don't have to do it alone. We'll see you next week, everyone. Thanks again, Toby, for coming and hanging out.
Thanks for having me. I love you all.
And then we get to stare at each other until Johnny kicks us.